Hello, folks. Welcome to the Manly Pinterest Tip Show. I'm Jeff C., and you're not. I'm very excited to have the Dad Dudes with me today. In case you don't know who the Dad Dudes are, they are a group of dudes and dads that live in Los Angeles, work in the entertainment industry, and amuse themselves with craziness and the stuff that happens in the lives of parents. Now, I know that you guys are going to like these guys. They have a very, very funny on YouTube. I'll make sure to drop that in the comments. But if you haven't seen them, you need to check them out. They have some really good stuff. And guys, thank you so much and welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having us, Jeff.
Yeah. So as I'm talking with the guys, if you guys in our live audience have any questions, make sure to ask your questions by typing /Q, and we will try to get to them during the show today. So since we're kind of have multiple guests today during the show, I'm going to let the guys introduce themselves and kind of share what you do when you're not making funny videos. And Matt, let's start with you since I know you the best.
Well, when I'm not making funny videos, I make, sadly, serious videos for corporate uses and for commercials and stuff like that. But most of the time I get to make funny videos. And then I'm also a dad of two kids. One is a 6'4", 15-year-old, and I have a 12-year-old as well. We don't know how tall he is, but he's just starting to grow. And and then I'm a husband of 16 and a half years in a row. And
very cool.
Yeah, she's going to keep me around for a little bit longer, I think. So.
Yeah, I beat you 20 years this year. Wow. You know.
Wow.
Yeah. She's awesome. If she ever left, I don't know. I'm just scared of her, I guess.
That'll do.
I don't know what I do. I mean, if she ever left me, I'd have to go with her. I mean, it's
right.
that bad.
That's
right. So, and so would you consider, when you tell people what you are, you say you are a director? Isn't that?
I do say I'm a director. Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
And give us some of the things that you have directed, because I don't get impressed often, but I was impressed by stuff you have directed.
Most of the stuff that I've directed is short form stuff. I've also directed a pilot for us, a Dad Dudes TV show that we shot last year, and we're shopping right now. Half an hour single camera comedy. So I do a lot of that stuff, and then just commercials that you may or may not have seen on the web or TV, depending on what channels you frequent. But stuff for Excedrin and Walmart and things like that.
Very, very cool. Now, Ryan, what about you? So tell when you're not doing this fun stuff, what do you do for a living?
Well, I'm third in line in the number of years under my belt for marriage. Heather and I have been married for 14 years.
Cool.
Is that right? Hold on, let me do some math here. 15 years?
You should get this right. Yeah.
14.
Yep.
He's down the hall. Don't tell her. She may be watching. I have no idea. 14 years. I have 3 crazy kids, ages 4, 6, and 8. So that's full-time job for anybody. And I'm getting ready to start a movie in 3 weeks. Does that sound right?
Very cool.
Going to Virginia to start a film, a Christmas movie.
Very cool. Can you tell us a little bit more about that? Are you in it? Are you directing it, or what do you do?
I am in it. I play the lead. I played a guy named Matthew, unfortunately, just like that guy. I play a guy named Matthew Payton. It's a Christmas movie. It should be out in November. I think November the 4th is the tentative release date. And we just got cast updates today, and I'm not allowed to say technically. I can tell you who's already in it that has been announced. Miles Brown plays a little boy in the film. Miles is one of the twins on ABC's Blackish. If you're familiar with the TV show Blackish, he's great actor veteran actor at the ripe old age of 11. So he played a little boy in the film. Who else can I reveal? Kevin Sizemore is also in the film. He was just he's been in a ton of stuff. He was in a movie last year called Woodlawn. He played the assistant coach in a feature called Woodlawn. And the rest of the cast, although I'm looking at their names on my left, I can't say just yet. You'll just have to look at the Hollywood Reporter and Variety and Deadline and all those things later this week. But it takes place in Virginia, and we're shooting in Virginia, and it's a great family-friendly, faith-based film that should be out this Christmas.
Awesome. So now you are also, I was reading kind of your bios on your website. You're also an author, is that correct?
That's right. Yeah, I wrote 2 books. Year before last, I wrote a book called Parenting Rules, The Hilarious Handbook for Surviving Parenthood. And that came out in December of 2014. And then I followed it up 1 year later with Marriage Rules, The Hilarious Handbook for Surviving Marriage. And that just came out in December.
Very cool. And we can find those on Amazon?
Amazon, yep. Amazon, Barnes & Noble, either of those, bn.com. My website is my name, ryanoquinn.com, but Amazon's probably the quickest and easiest. Shows up in a couple days.
Very, very cool. Okay, so how did Dad Dudes come about? And Matthew, I'll let you kind of start it off, and I'll go to you, Ryan. So how did it start?
Well, Ryan actually had a regular meeting of guys called Dude Night that they would just meet together, and I got grandfathered in. I just randomly fell into this group.
Because you're old.
Yeah, exactly. We had a mutual friend who said, "Hey, you guys ought to meet," and it went from we met for lunch, the three of us, to, "Hey, what are you doing tonight? Let's get together and smoke cigars and drink scotch and hang out." And a week later, I was attending a wedding of one of the guys. So immediately, it's just this great group of guys that it felt like we'd been friends for years after just a couple of days. So that's how we met, and that's how we started hanging out. And then one day, the three of us, there's another dad dude named Todd Wilkerson who couldn't be here today. But one day we were just hanging out, and we were lamenting the plight of dads who have DVD players in their cars, right, where they will be able to hear a movie for months and months and months, and a movie they may never, ever see, as it entertains the kids for them on
right,
these long road trips. And so out of that, we birthed the Dads Respond to Disney's Frozen, and shot that video. Thought it'd be fun. We put it out, hoping a couple of our friends would see it and stuff like that. And then within about a week, we had 2.3 million hits on YouTube, and we're like, oh, this is fun. And then we didn't do anything else for about a year. So you know what, we should start doing that again. That'd be great. And so we've got a dozen or so, 16, I think, 15, 16 videos that we've put together, and 8 scripts yet to shoot. And that's how Dad Dudes came together. So
Ryan, were you like, since you grandfathered him in, I've got a bad echo. Are you hearing that?
I do.
I don't.
Interesting. You don't hear the echo?
It's gone now.
Oh, now it's gone. Strange. Nobody move. Cool. Nobody breathe.
Nobody breathe. So you kind of were one of the founding members and let Matthew in, which was probably mostly from charity.
Huge mistake. No.
Yeah. So was this kind of something you were thinking about long term, that I want to make some films, or it was just a group of guys that got together?
No, it was just a group of guys, and we called it a Dude Night, or on my calendar, actually, our family calendar at home, I would carve out every other week, and we called it DudeDay, just a calendar that my wife and I share. On Thursday, here's a manly tip for you. She goes out one night a week with all the girls, and every other week we trade off, and I have a guy night. And so, like Matt said, we sit around the fire pit and tell lies and,
cool.
Do whatever dudes do around a fire pit. And so I had started this group that met every other Thursday, and it was called DudeDay. And that, by the way, is the name of our YouTube channel. If you look for DudeDay Films, that's where that came from. And Matt, we had a mutual friend, and the guy said, "You two idiots are basically the same. You're just foolish, and you have the same stupid sense of humor, and you guys should know each other." And we knew of each other. We had heard of each other off and on for years. And so we met for lunch, and literally that night you came over to a dude night, to a dude day, and we hung out. And that whole first video the whole plan was not really to launch a viral video company or an entertainment branding company or a daddy blog or anything like that. It was literally just, hey, I'm sure that there are hundreds of other dads that commiserate with us singing this song out loud in the shower, because my kids I have two girls and a boy, and every birthday party that we went to for that whole year was Frozen, of course, and we were in the zeitgeist of all things Frozen. And so we just said, well, what would be funny is if we just took the lyrics to one of the popular songs, changed the words to that, and then made it our own. And our plan was just to send it out to our circle of dads and our circle of friends. And honestly, if you had asked me on the day, and we released it, by the way, on Father's Day weekend that year, and if you had asked me, I would have thought, the goal is 10,000 hits. I mean, I would have considered that a huge success. Huge. So we released it on a Friday of Father's Day weekend, and on Monday, I got a Facebook message from a friend of a friend in Manila Philippines, and it had run on the front page of some big website in the Philippines. The next call was from the San Francisco Chronicle, and then later that week we did Fox News and Good Morning America, and Today Show ran it, and Access Hollywood and Inside Edition, and it was off to the races. And so, like Matt said, we kind of rested on those laurels for a little while, and then we thought, well, you know what? Like you mentioned at the top, all of us are in the entertainment industry and have been for many years, and we were all kind of at a point where we could take some time away and write and think about it. And so we mounted DadDudes.com, and that spawned into a pilot that Todd and I are in, and that Matt helped write and direct last year. And so it's kind of been a snowball effect ever since.
Very cool. So that was one of my questions. Is I was wondering why there's a Dad Dudes Facebook page, and then the DudeDay Films was a YouTube channel, but because that's what it was when you guys launched. Okay, very cool.
Yeah.
So
Well,
how do
and
you,
not
Ryan?
only that, but there's a Dad Dudes YouTube channel it's like one video that's 10 years old, and it's a bunch of guys sitting around playing a song.
So if that guy is watching right now, I will give you $5 to give us that name. You heard it here first.
He needs to give that up. So how do you guys come up with? You said you had 8 scripts written already, Matt, which was pretty impressive. But so how do you guys come up with ideas for videos? I just read a great book by one of the owners and founders of Pixar called Creativity Inc. And he talks about the brain trust at Pixar, how they get together and bounce and build ideas off each other. So how do you guys come up with videos? Is it usually one guy, or is it one guy brings ideas to the group and then you kind of flesh them out? Or how does that usually happen?
It's all Ryan's idea. Yeah, it's all Ryan.
I made the mistake of saying that one time in jest on national television, and they won't let me live it down. But go on. Go on. It's all Matt.
Most of our ideas it's funny, they become the genesis of them is just before, somebody will have a great idea or whatever, and then we almost always share it over WhatsApp. So the genesis of the collaboration starts as a WhatsApp message. It's like, hey guys, what do you think about this? And then next thing you know, everybody starts chiming in, and we have a big collaborative effort together. Luckily, if we weren't shooting videos and be idiots in our videos, we would just hang out and be idiots, in real life, which is what we do most of the time. And sometimes genius spawns out of that. And so we'll come up with a concept, and then we will have, hours of just messages back and forth over, and what if you did that? And what if you did that? And what if you did that? And that's how a lot of our videos were birthed. Like our Star Wars video came completely out of that. And so it's just, we just have a good time brainstorming together. So it's very much a collaborative effort.
And we share, in addition to WhatsApp, we also share a Google Doc, and we add to that and go back and forth. And we talk, this is horrible, but the three of us probably talk 5 times a day at minimum via text or WhatsApp or something like that. But even, this is Los Angeles. So even though we live 10 miles apart, max, it takes 6 hours to drive between in Los Angeles between that distance. So we rarely get together in person as much as we talk on whatever, WhatsApp or text or whatever. And then we finally decide on a script, we narrow it down. And then we have a great community of friends, just other dudes that have jumped in and are friends and fans and have volunteered time and energy and effort. And again, this is Hollywood, so it's not just 3 fools in the valley with a beta cam. It's we've got some good equipment, and we've got some lights, and we've got some mics, and so we go all out in some of these productions. We had extras, and we did one called Princess Party. What's the real name of it online, Matt? What is it called?
Dad Survive a Princess Party.
Dad Survive a Princess Party. And so we mounted a birthday party really here at my house, and we invited moms and friends of friends, and we had dozens of extras over. And so we dove into the plight of what it's like to be the only dad at a princess party with your girls in a place full of, a house full of moms. And so the community around us.
One of Ryan's daughters, she's a year older than she really is now, because we threw a fake birthday party. So
it's a little confusing. She's in therapy. We're going to figure it out.
Yeah. So, I know you guys have the big productions that you film, like the birthday party one, but then I saw, you also have that one where I think it's Matt is waking up his daughter with a lightsaber. That's on your channel.
That's
too.
Todd.
Okay. Yeah. And so, that's funny too. Was that just him going, okay, this is funny. I'm just going to shoot it and go.
He just turned on his iPhone and went into the room.
Let's see. I thought
And
that
then
was
he
pretty
sent
good.
it to us, and Matt said, "You have to put that up." And he's like, "No, it's just silly. It's iPhone." And Matt said, "No, post that right now." And so,
Very cool.
Yeah,
very
like
cool.
I said, we just hang out and we're morons as it is, and then sometimes it's caught on camera. So
Gotcha. So how long does it take you guys to shoot like the videos? Like, let's say the most recent one, the urinal etiquette one, which is just, it is. I feel it's on the tip of going viral. It is so stinking funny. So how long did you take to shoot that? I mean, did you like block out go to a church restroom, or how did you, and do that, or what did you do?
yeah, that was one afternoon.
Really?
Yep.
Okay. Very cool.
So that one, we had come up with the idea ahead of time. Some of them we take a lot longer than it should. My wife always jokes because I'll say, "Oh, I'm going to shoot this, and we'll just be there for a few hours," and she goes, yeah, right. Let's double the time." Because what ends up happening most of the time is we have a script, or we have an outline, and then we end up improvising a lot along the way, and so it takes double the amount of time that it's supposed to. That one, we actually had some time constraints as it was. Our camera guy had to leave. I think Ryan had to go someplace. And so it was like, okay, guys, we have a hard 4 hours, so we have to do this in this amount of time, which actually I think helped. This little sense of urgency, which, people usually have at the urinal anyway, so it was appropriate.
Right.
But most of them we shoot in a day.
And that's difficult for us. Yeah, all of us have a background in improv. So to have something on paper is great. And then inevitably there's another 3 hours of just nonsense that sometimes it works. You capture it, when in our Never Seen Star Wars video, the bones were there. We pretty much had the idea and had the generally, what the script would look like. And then on the day, of course, you go into improv, and that's great. Let's keep that. And so you add to the script and add and add. But most of our videos have been shot in a day or in an afternoon. There were 2 videos back to back. That Princess Party one and Gun Noises, we actually made the mistake of shooting the same day, same long day, and we were on set for 16 hours.
Yeah, I think that gun one was the first one. Matt said, "Hey, can you help push this out?" Because that was when I first knew about you guys, and that was I didn't know that was on 2 days. So how long does it take to edit? Do you have now, like when you do these? Do you have okay, Matt's going to direct, Ryan's going to write, or is it just, hey, do you have some free time? You do this. How does it usually work in your like post production? I guess.
Once everything is in the can, we turn it all over to Matt, and we aggravate him every 15 minutes until it hits the web.
So Matt, how much stuff is left on the cutting room floor that I just have a feeling there's a lot of stuff that goes on you either can't use or that you just don't have time to do.
Well, we have a brand that's very family oriented. So every once in a while stuff slips through the cracks and we have to cut that away. But, for the most part, what you see is what we have. Todd actually is a very consistent actor. It's fun for me as an editor and director. I'll go through, and there's lots of editing that I'll do where you see 5 or 6 takes of a scene, and the actor every time he says his line, he turns to the right, and then the one that you want, the best delivery of the line, he says his line and he turns to the left, and you're like, no, I can't use it. I can't use that at all. But Todd, he'll do his lines and his hand goes up to his face the same time. Every time he does it, and the delivery is exactly the same. So most of his performances that end up on the floor are they're exactly as the same as the ones that are in it. But Ryan doesn't like to read scripts, so ahead of time, or memorize or any of that hard work. So right. He's a great improviser. Yeah, exactly. But then we'll go, no, you got to say this. This is the line. This is the line. So there's a lot of that, and we finally started putting those together in our gag reel. The urinal video has a gag reel that we like. So there's more of that we have to go back and find and put together in the gag reels. Jurassic Dads was another great one where it was just improvising on the day, and there's lots of bits that we didn't use. One of the hard parts. Go ahead.
No, go ahead. I was just going to say on Jurassic Dads, we even came. Stop it. We even came back and shot an extra day because after we looked at it, we saw there were some pieces missing, and so we went back for Jurassic Dads and shot again. But go ahead.
The hard part with some of these videos is not cutting out the stuff that doesn't work, but cutting out the stuff that works but makes the video too long. That's the hardest thing. And we sit there and we go, oh, there's 9 ideas that are really good that would make this video better, but they also make it longer. So you have to learn which are your babies that you have to get rid of, and that is the hardest thing for me, because you do a rough pass and there's a whole bunch of stuff that you just go, not going to keep it. But then there's that long and arduous process of whittling away at the good stuff to make the video feel tight and the timing feel right.
And all of that pre-production work that goes into writing that script and us hashing it out, like we talked about before, is probably doubled on the back end as Matt posts, a rough edit or the first version of it, and then we dive into it again. And there's so much fine tuning that goes into that, and probably another week on average of going back and forth until we get a final product.
There's a general rule in production that we talk about, and Jeff, you probably have heard it, or it may apply. I'm sure it applies to other areas, but we call it the 80-20 rule, where 80% of your production takes 20% of your time, and then the last 20% takes 80% of your time, and that's what it ends up being.
So, because your Facebook video is really that's one, I think, one of the most popular ones I see shared still a lot on Facebook. But it's a longer video. But everything in it is very, very tight. All the jokes and everything. That one seemed really, really polished when I saw it. And then I looked at the time, because I'm always trying to see on social media, how much, which gets the most likes versus time, because they say, a YouTube video is supposed to be under 3 minutes and all this stuff. And this was a little longer than normal, but it worked. It just worked. So I thought that was very interesting as well. One of the questions somebody asked in the audience was, would you guys say going viral is something you can plan, or is it just something that happens?
I don't think there's any recipe for viral. In other words, I don't think you can set out to shoot a viral video. I think it's a combination of a bunch of things. For example, with Frozen, like I said, everybody was talking about Frozen. We were in the middle of the hype, and so that was an example of capitalizing on something that was really popular and jumping on it at that moment. So I think it's a combination of a bunch of things. You have to have all of the right ingredients, but the timing also has to be correct. We're working on one this week. I don't know how soon we'll get it out, but we're working on one that involves Girl Scout cookies. So obviously it's very timely, and we're surrounded by that as we speak. And so we look ahead. Star Wars, we shot 3 or 4 weeks before Star Wars came out, but we released it when it came out. Straight out of Parenthood, we sat on that and then released it on the Tuesday that the DVD was released. So we try to be a little judicious about when we release to capitalize on some other things happening in the media.
Very cool. So you mentioned, you guys are all in the industry. So do you rent stuff for your things, or is it stuff you have from jobs that you just kind of carry over to?
Matt stole a lot of stuff from sets over the last 20 years.
Yeah.
So really.
And you're probably not renting things for locations either. You're probably having them, it sounds like, at your house or just places around.
Most of the shoots have taken place so far in Ryan's house. If you look around, you'll see, oh, there's Ryan's kitchen again, and there it is again. In fact, the Straight Outta Compton video, or Straight Outta Dad Dudes video that we did, it's Ryan and Todd are both in Ryan's house, and it's it makes us look like we're a couple, because they're both getting things out of the same kitchen, So we rent, beg, steal, and borrow, as much as we can. Lots of favors from friends. We borrow children. I'm excited because, I have 2 teenage kids. I don't have a young one like Todd and Ryan do, but my sister is about to have a baby girl. So I will be using that one all the time. So
that's kind of how he made the announcement to us. He said, my sister's having a prop we can use. That was horrible, but that's what he said.
Yeah, exactly.
Hey, you know what? We should also mention, speaking of begging and borrowing from friends, we should also mention Chad Reiser, who is a fantastic music guy. We learned the hard way from Frozen, especially, that there's all kinds of parameters on YouTube videos, of course, and even though we thought we were safe using the karaoke version of that song, it was taken down. And in fact, it would probably have more hits than we do now, because for the first few weeks, you could only view it on a desktop and not on a phone or a lap or an iPad. It was very strange how but it was all surrounding music. So we decided to take it upon ourselves to call in a great music guy named Chad Reiser, who's been excellent. Everything we've done since then has all been original music, and he's just bends over backwards to help us out. So.
It's I was wondering that because I know that because I've done some parody stuff before too, and supposedly you're covered legally by doing a parody, but YouTube, I mean, when we were doing the Hangout shows, I mean, if you would have somebody playing their own song in the background, they would, you get a copyright strike. So it's really strange how all that stuff works. So, but that's very cool about your music guy. So we're talking about viral videos, and you already kind of mentioned how, there's not really a set formula. What advice would you give people who want to start making videos? I mean, they probably don't have access to the Hollywood stuff that you guys have, but they can do stuff like your friend did with the iPhone. So what advice would you give people who want to start? They think they can make some good videos. What are some things that you would tell them to kind of start with?
Well, I think a number of things. No, go ahead. I'll say one and you say one.
Go ahead.
You mentioned it at the top, or not at the top, but a minute ago, Jeff, about not making it too long. I'm in the viral video business, sort of, and if someone sends something to me, the very first thing I do before I even look at the title or the subject line or anything is see how long it is. So if it's over 3.5 minutes long, I probably won't. It's just a subconscious thing, probably. I'm like, I don't have that much time, so I won't even take a look at it. So that's probably a good jumping off point as you start looking at editing and what you can actually do in that amount of time.
Okay, Matt, what about you?
The most important thing is really, I think, is audio. Is the biggest mistake that amateur YouTube video people make, or even guys that are trying to get information out about their company and start to a following that way, is they will use their the iPhone microphone or just catch ambient noise from their camera, and it's not good. People won't watch it if they can't understand it. You're not doing any good with it. So I think that's a biggie. And then second, lighting helps a little bit, but it doesn't matter. I mean, some of the ones that we've shot on a nice, Canon 5D, and the camera's great. Mm-hmm. We have one coming up that we're going to shoot on a Sony F55, like a really, really nice camera. But that is very secondary, especially, when you look at YouTube and the videos that are out there. A lot of them are shot handheld on the iPhone. And it really doesn't matter. People are more and more used to that. So it's okay. Mm-hmm. You don't need to be shooting with the same camera that Steven Spielberg does. But audio is key.
Yeah, I've heard that people will forgive video, but they won't forgive audio. So
yeah.
Yeah. And so one of the things that, I had a great question. I just lost it. It was so deep and meaningful.
I'm 5'11". 5'11".
Okay, exactly. But you are married. The on the production side, but do you this is what it was. I was thinking you guys were going to say the story, and you immediately went into, it's the equipment and this stuff. I would think that because I see people who have great equipment and great lighting and get in front of the camera and, okay, I'm going to be talking today to you about my company, and we're going to be talking about 1, 2. I mean, and it's so stinking boring. Mm-hmm. So what would you, so I want to ask you guys and I'll ask Matt first so we don't jump on top of each other, is how important the story, and what are some things that you can tell these new maybe content creators on about story and story development, and even story in a small 2-minute video?
Well, in the videos that we do, story is definitely key. It's huge. It's got to be a good story for people to not only click on it, but for people to stick around. I mean, one of the great things that YouTube has is in your analytics, you get to see how long your viewer retention is. And you can tell the ones that, that we've done where they've just dropped off right away, and you go, okay, that was not a successful story. We did not do a good job keeping people's interest peaked. So yeah, story's key, especially in these scripted ones like this, or these, I'll say fictional videos. Mm-hmm. For people that are trying to create content about their company or their interest, I think for me the big deal is get your story straight, get your outline straight, but also I watch ones that you can tell that they're not really passionate about it. And I think the passion is the key. I mean, if you're sitting there and you are just if it's obvious that you are passionate about, you know, real estate or social media or whatever it is that you're talking about, I'll stay engaged, you know, for the most part, you know. And that to me is a big key of keeping viewers' retention, is seeing that energy and seeing that passion. I mean, looking at your setup, right? You've got all, I mean, you are totally sold in to the manly Pinterest tips. I mean, the signs behind
Right.
you, it's not, you're not just some guy sitting, you know, in the Hobby Lobby, you know, with your iPhone doing this thing. You know, it's really obvious that you are sold to this and to your brand. And that, I think that says a lot. I think it goes a long way with viewers. Well, and heck, the beard, man, the beard.
Oh, well,
it's just,
yeah.
It's majestic. It's majestic.
It's fake. See, it comes right off.
We talked about that before. Right. We said maybe it's hidden. So.
Yeah. So Ryan, I know, and you're an author, so you probably have some insight in this well. So what advice would you give people on creating, you know, video stories or stories in their videos that they're telling?
Yeah, content is certainly key. You know, that I guess we kind of jumped the gun a little bit, but we're just so used to poring over every single word that is said on there, and then we aggravate Matt to death when we go back and Todd and I both are horrible at, you know, when he's in the editing phase of it, by going, is there another take where I said that slower or faster or in a different way? And Todd is usually the first one to come back. Our stories, if you will, are comedic. Obviously, they're meant to be either tongue in cheek or funny or to make you laugh, and that's kind of our brand, and that's the world that we all come from. And Todd is notorious for coming back and saying, how can we escalate this? What can we do to escalate this to the next level? Because even with one joke, if you're telling a story in a YouTube setting, 2.5 minute setup for one button of a punchline is not really great. You're going subconsciously, the viewer is going to be turned off by that and may not click subscribe. We try in our trajectory of storytelling to escalate it every step along the way. If you look at something like Jurassic Dads, for example, where we're the dinosaurs, I mean, it just goes to the ridiculous. And then the payoff at the very end is just as silly as it could be, you know, when I jump on the countertop. And so there were a lot of tricks to that, by the way, which we may not divulge. Oh, somebody's clapping about that. Good. Yeah. Storytelling and content wise, I think you have to, if we're looking at the 80-20 rule, you probably have to spend 80% of your time on content. And part of that comes in the editing phase of the video as well. But there's going to have to come a time where you slice out those things that were just great on the day. But you know what? It adds an extra 7 seconds to the video, and it's just not going to work. So,
well, here's the question. You know, into the social media circles that I run around with, you know, everybody is talking about video now. It's the new thing. You know, it's like when everyone got websites. You know, now it's live video. You got Periscope. You got Facebook Live. You've got, you know, and everybody. You know, I'm hearing people, you know, going, oh, it's going to put the video editors out of business or the filmers, you know, the film, which is not true, because if you are good at your job, you're going to get the best ones out there. So what do you think about all this new video coming out? Do you think it's going to be something that everybody should latch onto to tell their story, or there should be something else?
Well, yeah, I think you said it best. Like when Meerkat came out, for example, you know, just before Periscope launched, everybody kind of jumped on Meerkat and then Periscope, and now everybody else is following suit. You've got Facebook Moments, you've got whatever the other versions of live. I just read an article the other day that there's yet another one coming out to capture this live moments, and there's this whole kind of voyeuristic appeal to behind the scenes, what we call BTS. So I feel like that there's on this movie coming up, you know, we're doing a whole marketing campaign based around behind the scenes. I mean, people go to those DVD extras for a reason, and major studios keep putting those out for a reason, because people are interested in the process, what happens behind the scenes. And sometimes with these formats, these social media formats like Periscope and things like that, you can actually give people an inside look at what happens behind the scenes. A great example right now is Ellen Tube. If you follow Ellen DeGeneres, she will open up her social media. Somebody's literally just on Periscope, and they're in the writer's room, and it's that time of the week where they're culling through YouTube posts and trying to figure out what they want to put on Ellen. But it's a really cool fly-on-the-wall moment for some of us to look in and go, wow, that's how that all happens. And I feel like that's the next big thing in a social media movement, where People want to see the movie, they want to see the story, they want to get the content. But you know what was fascinating is this second screen idea, the second screen where you can log on and see the story behind the story. So we're gonna try with Dad Dudes to do a little more with that coming up in the near future, where we do shoot some BTS stuff and kind of give fans and friends and viewers a look at exactly what you're asking us to do right now, is kind of peel back the layers and see what goes into making one of these.
Yeah, and Shannon says he loves the behind the scenes stuff, and it's really cool. That's Shannon Hernandez. He's a friend of mine who's a DJ in Arizona, and he actually, during his show where he's playing music and stuff, will be talking and interacting with his fans on Facebook and on Periscope, and it's really cool, and it's really developed him a relationship with people there. So I think that as well. I think too, for me, what I see that to stand out from the crowd, because when everybody starts doing video, you'll see a lot more people, enter the market. But this idea of infotainment, where you're hopefully, like this show is, yes, we're kind of providing some ideas and maybe educating some people, but also it's fun. It's not boring, and people, watch it and listen to it. And so I see that coming a lot more people doing that in the future as well.
Exactly. And you look at something like a Jimmy Kimmel Live, The Tonight Show, now compared to what it was, pre Johnny Carson days. It's a little bit different animal, and it's really infotainment. So it's not just to sit down on the couch and let's talk about your movie and commercial and we're out. There's there's sketches, and there's behind the scenes, and there's lip sync battles, and there's so much. We are so scattered this day and age. We can't really blame it on the millennials. We're all 40 somethings here that are in that same kind of mindset where we need 6 screens going at the same time, and that's just social media and the internet in general has pushed us to that. And so we need to have all this information coming to us at the same time. And I think that's the next wave of entertainment. You're right.
So for you guys, I know you guys promote on social media. Do you do any other sort of promotion when you release a new video, or is it all on social media? I mean, do you do like a email newsletter where you're telling people that, hey, we've got a new video out? I mean, is that it for you guys?
Yeah, that's really just Facebook and Twitter.
Yep. We're just Facebook and Twitter. Every once in a while, we post something on Instagram. But that's it. We haven't started email blasts or anything like that.
Very cool. Gotcha.
We have a website that we often direct people to, but we're also not great about updating that. I feel like we concentrate more on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter, and then we get on an interview show like this, and we go, yeah, I go to daddudes.com. And they're like, wait, we updated that in August. Hold on. So we will be better. We promise. Yeah. But
it's hard to be everywhere. I mean, that's my job, and that's what I have to do. But you guys all have other things you do. Keeping up with that, it'd be, kind of a nightmare. Now, I saw that you also have ads on the videos. And so I'm assuming you monetize, and I'm assuming it's, starting to kind of snowball a little bit. Is there any other ways you monetize?
We just
pennies.
Oh yeah, it's great.
But I also noticed you guys do sponsorship. Is that helping with production costs, or is it just kind of, okay, here's beer money for our next DudeDay night?
That's great. No, that is actually, it's helping out quite a bit. The Date Night Comedy Tour has partnered with us. They are a fantastic group. We're going to be working with them more. They do churches. They do date nights at churches all over the country, and they have something like 40 dates or 50 dates scheduled for this year, and they go through and people talk about relationships, and they have a comedian, and Dad Dudes are going to be going on some of those events around the country.
Cool.
And so we're enjoying partnering with them, and so they pay us to mention them at the end. And what's great is they're spending some money, but they're not spending as much as they would to make a commercial and throw that out and try to buy airtime. And what they're finding is that their web traffic is jumping, 1,000% when we do a video, and mostly unique hits, people that have never visited Date Night Comedy Tour before. And so it's great for them. And it's definitely, something that helps out with, production fees. And most of the people that we work with, they're doing their stuff for free. Ryan mentioned Chad Reiser. I'd be remiss if I didn't give a great shout out to Ian Robertson and Dave DeVos, who have both been guys that have, volunteered their time to come and be our shooters or hold a boom or whatever. But it's great when we can say, hey guys, by the way, here's some money. Thanks so much. And we're able to do that. And then on top of that, be able to rent gear and stuff like that to make our productions look better.
Matt and I spoke at an event called the CMO Summit in Santa Monica, California, a couple months ago, and it was chief marketing officers from some of the Forbes 500 businesses from all across the country that showed up. And one of the things that we were talking about was this idea of social media and how the game has changed. We have a friend whose kids have been in some of our videos, who was a VP of marketing for Mattel, and he was talking about how this whole shift to social media, and speaking of sponsoring videos, he said, we could spend $8 million on a television commercial for the next Nerf toy that's coming out. And he said, my own daughter killed me when she sat down and with the DVR remote scrubbed through a commercial that I had spent millions of dollars on this campaign. Yeah. And he said, now I go to BuzzFeed and I find out what idiots are shooting and what's trending, and I offer them a fraction of that, and it's a win-win for everybody. And my own daughter goes to YouTube, looks that up, and then sends that blast out to all of her friends. And he said, you can imagine the hockey curve of an ROI from a marketing standpoint, where it's a totally different animal. We're just not accustomed to sitting through those 30 and 60-second commercials like we did when we were all growing up.
Now, has the changes to YouTube with the new YouTube Red, where it's that subscription thing, have you seen any impact in any of your stuff that you guys have done?
I can't say that we have. You may know, Matt knows a little more about the analytics than I do, but I don't think it's made a huge difference. We've gained subscribers. We haven't really looked too much into that, but I don't think so.
Okay. What about Facebook?
It's such a new thing. I don't think that it really has taken hold yet. Right. I mean, it may be huge in the future, but right now I think most people are still on the regular free YouTube.
So what about Facebook versus YouTube? And I'm always pinging Matt when you guys put a new thing up. I'm like, give me a Facebook version so I can share it. But I know you're trying to drive people to your channel and you make money from, clicks, and Facebook I really don't think has a good option now. So, I mean, they're becoming pretty close rival wise. I mean, I looked at some of your numbers for your Facebook video, and it was high on Facebook. So is that going to change some of your strategy? Are you going to always continue now to release one on YouTube, one on Facebook, or what are your thoughts on that, Matt?
In the short term, we like releasing on YouTube. One of the things, I mean, honestly, is that YouTube has a what's called the YouTube Create space. That if you have 10,000 subscribers, you can go down to LA and use their space. They have a soundstage and all sorts of cameras and stuff like that. So in the short term, that would be a goal to be able to, again, up our production value some by having access to actors and collaborators and gear that we don't now. We have found with our videos that the sharing YouTube, you get less views but more money, and Facebook is the other way around. A lot more views but no money. I mean, unless you're driving people to a store or something like that, there's not a big return on that. So the reason I think that we're doing both is because not only do we want the YouTube subscribers, and then, like I said, the pennies that roll in with that, but also the exposure is better because the algorithms work better with Facebook native videos than they do with sharing a YouTube link.
Yeah, I noticed that when I was trying to share, I posted it to my page, mainly Pinterest page, and then posted it to my personal one, which usually gets a lot of interaction, and it got almost hardly any because it was a YouTube link and not a Facebook. And I'm like, so anyway, so that's very interesting. And I know, can you tell me more about this YouTube space? Is it for everybody who's got 10,000 subscribers?
I believe so. Yeah, anybody that's got 10,000, they can come and start working with that. And then also YouTube starts to work with you to put you together with collaborators. So you have another person that's got another channel who may have an audience that you don't interact with, that you don't attract. So they'll say, why don't we put the two of you guys together, and then you're attracting people to their audience and vice versa. People that might never have clicked on your channel without that collaboration. So they're actively, involved with their content producers to try to make sure that they're staying on YouTube as much as possible.
Gotcha. So Ryan, we're kind of wrapping up towards the end here. So what are your kind of long-term plans or goals with this? It kind of almost sounded like it started as a hobby. I mean, kind of as a fun thing to do, and it's kind of morphed to this thing. So what do you think will happen like in a year or maybe 2 years? What are your kind of plans?
Yeah, it's becoming more and more of not a full-time thing by any stretch, but certainly more. It's taking up more and more of our time. So what started out as a hobby, we're finding ourselves dedicating 1 or 2 days a week now to just doing this. So, for example, this Saturday we've blocked out the entire day to shoot a funny video. I don't know if I'll tease it here. No, don't tease it here. It doesn't matter. It's going to be great. Stay tuned is all I can say. But it requires a lot of work. In other words, it's a location-based shoot, and we need a lot of extras, and we need a lot of equipment and a lot of lighting and multiple cameras, and there's a lot of people involved. And so that can't just happen when 3 guys get together and say, hey, come over at my house on Wednesday and let's just see what happens. There's a lot of planning that goes into it. So in answer to your question, long-winded answer to your question, but I think that the goal would be to have this be something that, now that we're starting to get sponsorship monies, and now that we're starting to see the pennies roll in on YouTube, and it's start heading in that direction, the goal would be to take more time out of our lives and start moving in this direction and entertain that idea more, because it's a, we can look, it's a viable occupation for a lot of people right now. And so we kind of tiptoed into this space, not knowing that would be the case. And we're slowly getting there.
So, I would assume this has also helped, like you're a comedian and a writer. Has it helped elevate you for your other job as well, saying, hey, I've got this channel, it's doing well? Has that been?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And that was, when I, with the first book, when I met with agents and publishers about that, they were very familiar with Dad Dudes with that first video that we did. So that is just a boon. It's one of those rising tides, raises all ships kind of thing. Matt gets other jobs on the outside. Todd and his television commercial work, we can automatically point to that. And, many people know at least one of those videos, whether it's the Frozen or another one. So slowly getting into that space where it's elevating everybody around us. And then we did a Dad Dudes pilot last year. So Jerry Mathers played my dad on the show, and Tracy Melchior played my wife. Joyce Gerard is in the show, and we got really top-notch actors. And their first foray was to just Google that word, Google that name, Google that word. And so that what they saw on YouTube really helped reel in some of those folks and really helped launch what became the pilot for a single camera sitcom.
Very cool. Well, here's the last question I'm going to ask both of you guys. There's 2 more questions, but I'll ask Matt first. What's the most exciting thing that's happened to you since you started doing these videos?
The most exciting thing that's happened to me since I started doing these videos. It is fun to be recognized for these things, even if it's just locally. We're local, local celebs. It's great. It is fun walking around, and I think the thing for me, it's not even so much the adults that come up and they're like, "Hey, I love your video," but it's the kids for me that come up and have really enjoyed it. In fact, most of the time, it's the kids that share it with their parents before the parents share it with their kids, and I dig that. We call it Dad Dudes because we are dads first and dudes second. And so there is really a special place in my heart when just knowing that we've made these kids laugh and that they're sharing this with their friends, and just that whole world of laughter and happiness is just expanding because of something that we were able to do. So that's definitely, I get pumped every time I get a kid that comes to me and, hey, I loved your new video. Recently, I just spoke at Thousand Oaks High School, local high school here, about production and stuff like that. And 2 of the kids, I started talking about one of our videos, and they go, "Oh yeah, we've seen it. We're all we're subscribers already." So it's
cool.
It's great to hear that stuff. So.
How about you, Ryan?
Yeah, very similar. My 6-year-old has a little friend in her class that in their first grade class, they had to write what they wanted to be when they grow up. And my daughter's little friend wrote, and I quote, "I want to be a YouTube star like Haley's daddy." So I don't know if we've accomplished that, but maybe we're blazing a little bit of a trail. But certainly the kids, are some of our biggest fans. And if I could point to one more thing, one of the highlights would certainly be shooting that pilot. I mean, it's happened a few times, but not very many times when you can parlay YouTube success into a television series. And so that was a huge plus. And it got picked up by Huffington Post and tons of people ran the article on the front page of their website, and it kind of blew up. And social media, work begets work begets work, and it was again one of that snowball kind of effect. And so it was putting in the work at the top, and then that became something different. And so we're supposed to go back in April of this year and to finish up some more episodes of that. So it's pretty cool. That's a great goal to have, and it seems like we're headed in the right direction.
Well, awesome. Well, this is the last question, and I'll let Ryan answer this one because he probably can answer it the best. So where's the best place to find out about Dad Dudes and their services? Or there are some people on here who were actually wanting to hire you guys to make videos for them. So where's the best place where they can find you?
Yeah, well, you can always go to our DudeDay Films page on YouTube, of course. And if you want direct emails, you can email dudedayfilms@gmail.com. And we're the three of us, along with our manager, are on that, checking that regularly. So somebody will get back to you. We just shot another thing for TV, another interview that's coming up at the end of this month. Then we have another television thing that's coming out. And so DudeDayFilms@gmail.com is the best way to answer questions, or at least have somebody get back to you straight away, whether it's one of us or our manager. And you can find us there, and keep checking back in. DudeDay Films. Facebook, of course, is /DadDudes, or is it DudeDay Films on Facebook? Anyway,
no, it's
Dad Dudes. Dad Dudes, that's right. Dad Dudes on Facebook, and then hit us up on Twitter and Instagram. We're @DadDudes.
Awesome. Matt and Ryan, thank you so much for being here. As
Pleasure.
for always, I'd love for you guys to go to manlypicturetips.com, click on the sidebar, and subscribe to be part of our email community, where you'll never miss one of these great interviews like we had with the Dad Dudes today, because at Manly Picture Tips, we're always adding testosterone one pin at a time. See you next time, everyone. Thanks for watching.